La Administración de Control de Drogas de Estados Unidos advierte de un fuerte aumento en pastillas recetadas falsas que contienen fentanilo y metanfetamina. Los detalles más adelante. Robo tripping y cabeza de jarabe. Los niños en Estados Unidos están usando un lenguaje jerga para ocultar el abuso de medicamentos a venta libre. Les diré lo que podemos hacer como padres.
Imagine conocer métodos científicos para vivir aprovechando los potenciales ilimitados que son su derecho de nacimiento como alma.
Una explicación científica de la percepción sensorial superior y lo sobrenatural. Le diré por qué este graduado de MIT con altos honores que estaba listo para ingresarse a la Escuela de Medicina de Harvard lo dejó todo para desarrollar un método para desarrollar habilidades psíquicas. ¡Oh, la nave nodriza! Literalmente. Cada vez más personas en todo el mundo viven completamente fuera de la red. Me explico más adelante. Arlene inspira, el noticiero de bienestar comienza ahora. Bienvenidos a otro episodio de Arlene Inspira, el noticiero de bienestar. Comenzamos con el tema de adicción. Dexing, robo tripping y cabeza de jarabe. Según el Departamento de Salud y Servicios Humanos de los Estados Unidos, 1 de cada 3 niños sabe de un niño que está abusando de medicamentos para la tos. Y no porque estén enfermos, lo hacen para drogarse con uno de sus ingredientes. Este es un llamado para que los padres tomen acción. Usted tiene el poder de reducir el abuso de medicamentos para la tos de venta libre. Por favor, escuche a sus hijos de verdad. Preste atención a lo que están diciendo y cómo se están comportando. Y no olvide controlar todos los medicamentos. Si sospecha que su hijo está abusando de los medicamentos, no está solo. Puede contactar a un especialista de la línea de ayuda de apoyo en Drug Free Kids por teléfono al 855-378-4373 o al 855-DRUG-FREE. El resto de la información está en pantalla. En otras noticias, la Administración de Control de Drogas informa que el número de píldoras falsificadas con fentanilo incautadas por la DEA ha aumentado casi un 430% desde el 2019, un aumento asombroso. Las pruebas de laboratorio de la DEA revelan además que hoy en día 2 de cada 5 píldoras con fentanilo contienen una dosis potencialmente letal. Además, la metanfetamina se está presionando cada vez más en píldoras falsificadas. Estas píldoras falsificadas tienen al menos 2 miligramos de fentanilo, que se considera una dosis mortal. Algunas de las píldoras falsificadas más comunes están hechas para parecerse a los opioides recetados como la oxicodona, conocida como Oxycontin o Percocet, la hidrocodona, que se encuentra en Vicodin, y el Alprazolam, que se encuentra en Xanax, o estimulantes como las anfetaminas, que se encuentran en Adderall. Las píldoras recetadas falsas son ampliamente accesibles y a menudo se venden en las redes sociales y las plataformas de comercio electrónico, lo que pone a disposición de cualquier persona con un teléfono inteligente, incluyendo a nuestros adolescentes y adultos jóvenes. Pero usted también puede poner de su parte, y esto me lleva a mi próxima historia.
Él comenzó a comprar sus prescripciones en línea, pero estaba preocupado.
Este joven tiene una razón para estar preocupado, dada la historia que les acabo de compartir. La Asociación de Junta de Farmacias es una organización internacional sin fines de lucro que apoya y trabaja con las juntas estatales de farmacia para proteger la salud del público. Ellos crearon un programa llamado Antes de comprar, verifica. La asociación insta a los pacientes a visitar su sitio web para consumidores, www.safe.pharmacy. Hay una herramienta de búsqueda gratuita para verificar si la farmacia en línea que está utilizando es legal y verificada. Al fin, una buena noticia. La Administración de Servicios de Abuso de Sustancias y Salud Mental en Estados Unidos está apoyando el proyecto AWARE, invirtiendo 107 millones durante este año fiscal de 2021. Su intención es aumentar la conciencia sobre los problemas de salud mental en nuestros jóvenes, proporcionar capacitación para el personal de la escuela y otros adultos que interactúan con ellos para detectar y responder a los problemas de salud mental. Este proyecto también les ayuda a conectarse con los servicios necesarios para aquellos estudiantes que pueden tener problemas de salud conductual, incluyendo trastornos emocionales graves o enfermedades mentales graves, y a sus familias. Los sitios de Project Aware ya se han establecido en estados como Indiana, Montana, Carolina del Norte, entre otros que se muestran en su pantalla. Anteriormente discutimos los informes médicos sobre la intuición. Hoy quiero traerle una explicación científica sobre el mundo espiritual. Sí, escuchó bien. Durante esta entrevista pregunté cómo explicar el mundo espiritual a personas muy religiosas desde una perspectiva científica. También hablamos de la percepción sensorial versus la percepción sensorial superior y la explicación científica de nuestros sentidos psíquicos y sí, nuestros guías espirituales. Y para eso tuve el placer de entrevistar al señor Pete Sanders Jr., graduado con altos honores de la prestigiosa Universidad de MIT. Allí estudió química biomédica y ciencias del cerebro. Fue aceptado en la Escuela de Medicina de Harvard, pero en su lugar creó su propia organización sin fines de lucro para mente y cuerpo en Sedona que se llama Free Soul o Alma Libre. Y también es el autor de Tú eres psíquico. Espero que esta perspectiva científica ayude a comprender a muchos no creyentes del mundo espiritual. Vamos a rodar la entrevista. Mr. Sanders, thank you so much for joining us today. I have a question for you. How does someone that went to MIT, an honors graduate from MIT, accepted to go into Harvard Medical School, who chooses instead to focus on the supernatural, intuition, the spirit world? Tell me, how does that happen?
I don't see it as a conflict if you consider that all great science has been about exploring new horizons. And we know more about space and the oceans than we do about the unlimitedness of the human mind. And the latest in physics, superstrings physics, says that everything exists in 10 or more dimensions. And we don't have the technology yet to build machines to measure into those dimensions. But since we, as energy, do, we can be pioneers exploring those potentials that are our birthright as a free soul.
I love that someone like you, with your background, with all that knowledge, can sit here and help expose this, have a different perspective than most spiritual beings that we are here is trying to spread as much word to the world about this intuition, supernatural, the spirit world. I believe that there's no better time in history where the spirit world and us humans are co-creating to expand and make this a more beautiful world. The
other part of my background, the second half of the answer is, I grew up in Southern California and I saw a lot of abuse in this field. And so I said, I know I'd be a good doctor, but I want to dedicate my life to nonprofit public education service in this field, that the primary purpose is, number one, helping people be their own best teachers, getting to the essence of the issue, not the hype, and making it practical, livable. How do you live life as a soul? It doesn't have to be an either or.
I love that. You know, that's one of the things that I talk about. Even when we talk about, for example, medicine, we don't have to choose between Western and Eastern medicine. They can coexist. They both have their beautiful uses, right? And there's no one either or. It's same thing when I talk about vulnerability. You can be powerful and vulnerable and be able to experience both worlds, the spiritual and the physical. And I love what you just said in your mission. Here's my second question for you. What do you tell from a scientific perspective to those religious human beings that are very into their faith and are not open-minded about the spiritual, about intuition, about the spirit world? What would you say to them?
Well, there are numerous accounts in all holy books of people connecting with angels and spirits and using their intuition and connecting with the divine. And again, if you do it practically from within your faith, I don't people, you know, it disturbed me that people were told when I was growing up in Southern California, you have to leave your faith and be a devotee of a guru to explore spiritually. I don't feel that's true. These are secrets from science that work for all faiths. And I'm a believer in the philosophy of no one should go to a guru but themselves, because if you just spell it slowly, guru is G, you are you.
Oh,
And
wow.
I also, when I was doing an interview once with a very fundamentalist religious radio show, I asked the producer, I said, Bob, do you teach your children to read? And he said, of course I do. I said, but if they can read, they can read pornography. But
Mm.
if they can't read the good book. They can't read the Holy Scriptures. It's teaching people how to explore and use their skills responsibly and within their faith. That's the key thing.
Yeah, that's wow. Guru, I've never heard that and I love it. I'm gonna start using it with your permission. That is such an amazing way to look at it. And everything we have all the answers. We're powerful beyond measure, as Marianne Williamson talks about.
And
We
I want to give credit. I first heard that from a comedian who goes by the name of Swami Beyondananda.
oh my God.
He does the
Well,
lighter
yes,
side of enlightenment.
yes, that's great. My third question for you is, I believe that we're all born with our intuition senses. As a matter of fact, it's one of my mission is to teach it to everyone that I'm not special for having my own intuitive senses, and I love to teach people to tap into their own. From a scientific explanation, can you tell me? Can you explain what are our psychic senses?
Well, first of all, I like to tell people, be very clear, I do not believe in ESP, extrasensory perception. I believe in HSP, higher sensory perception. Superstrings physics says, remember, everything exists in 10 or more dimensions. Well, the three physical ones we know, plus time, the physical senses work through energy and matter of those three physical dimensions. So they're the way we sense through the body. Superstrings physics says we exist in more. And so, since superstrings physics, soul really is not just a religious term. I can talk to a complete atheist and say, you as a soul, and I mean you and your six or more other senses that superstrings physics says you exist in. So, actually, HSP is more accurately higher soul perception.
I
It's the
love
way
it.
you sense in those dimensions beyond. Now, we just don't get a whole lot of training in how to tap those senses. You have decades of training in how to use our physical senses to read, and that the blobs of ink make the letter A. And you don't realize until I did when I went to Japan as a naval officer and couldn't read anything, how much training we've had with that. But
Yeah.
what really was fun was going to Greece was even worse because their whole alphabet is things I associated with equation symbols. So we need something that practically trains us. That's what my books and courses are about, and does it in a way that's ethical and responsible. Some people are more naturally gifted intuitively, just as Michael Jordan, naturally gifted to play basketball. I'm never going to be a Michael Jordan, but I can learn to shoot free throws unless my name is Shaq. No, sorry, Shaq.
But that's a great example because it is that available to everyone, right? We're born with it. As long as we have a soul, we are born with this what I like to call gifts, but it's an ability that we all have. And then, like you just said, we just have to get trained because we need to remember that we have them and they're there to tap into. I like to call them declares.
And
Sure.
I know we're going to refer to this more at the end, but just because it fits right now, the key thing about my book, You Are Psychic, or in Spanish, Tú eres psíquico, it chronicles my work at MIT, finding brain and body areas that are like portals to those higher senses. So when you focus there, you can turn up the volume on those sensitivities. That also helps people practice. But equally importantly, it's for safety. People walk around saying, I want to be psychic all the time. And that's not safe if they're in a negative environment. So being able to be shielded, knowing how to open the window when you want to sense, and then shield back is the responsible, safe way to do it.
Yes, and thank you for clarifying that. And I can't wait to talk about the end of all the things that you do. Let's jump into the spirit world more specific to our spirit guides. What is that scientific explanation?
Well, it starts with the fact that we're all energy. Einstein's E equals mc squared equation said everything's energy, just in different forms. Before that, science thought there was matter over here and energy over there. And that equation changed all of science and said we're all energy. Now, the physical body is the part of our energy that's in this three-dimensional realm. The part that exists in those dimensions beyond, whether you want to call it spirit or soul or higher dimensions, is also energy. And the other great scientific truism is energy can neither be created nor destroyed, only changed in form. The same way matter can and does evolve. In the center of the sun, hydrogen is crammed together to make helium and release heat and light. Then helium is crammed together to make carbon and release heat and light. And it's more and more stuff is crammed together, eventually making iron. And when the star runs out of stuff to cram together, it novas, and it makes even more complex elements that spew out, that become the building blocks of us. We are all literally stardust. If matter can evolve, it makes sense to me that consciousness can evolve. And whether you call them guides, guardian angels, there are souls that have mastered what we're working on that can be kindred spirits mentoring us. What do they get out of it? The old saying, you really learn something when you teach it. I believe my guardian angels are learning reams about patience working with me.
I love it. I like to call them my spirit squad. I work with them all day long. I'm always guided. I feel their love and I'll feel their guidance all the time. And this is a topic that I just geek out on. And tell me, from the same perspective, how would you explain how to tap into your own spirit squad?
Well, there's a technique that's on my website, freesoul.net, that everybody can watch for free, called the Soul Shift. And it's basically focusing lower legs and then riding an elevator through the body, knees, waist, chest, head, and that shifts you into the dimensions beyond. That is more that soul you. So it's almost like it's easier to receive when you're outside the atmosphere, the distorting, atmosphere. When I was lecturing at MIT on some of this one brain science professor was giving me a hard time, and I said, you do realize Einstein said when he was asked where did he get his stuff, I've learned to tap the universal unconscious. I thought that was a pretty good answer.
Yeah.
And he went, nah, that was just PR hype. So the way I reached him was Hubble telescope. The Hubble telescope is infinitely better than land-based telescopes because it's above the distortion of the atmosphere. When we can get out of limbic brain, the part of the brain that keeps us in survival struggle, and into those dimensions beyond, it's like the static goes away. It's like rising above the brown cloud of smog, you know, if you fly into LA or Denver and you receive more clearly.
I love that. It's you explained it completely different, but that is a practice that I do, and I can totally relate that you're 100% on point on the way to be able to expand your consciousness, to be able to tap in and receive that.
Now, can I give one other tip that's very important?
Yes, of course.
And this is just my philosophy. I don't mean to, I'm not casting aspersions at what anybody else does. But when you pray, when you want to communicate with spirit, don't be a beggar. Be a communicator. Go up to that level and talk with the divine. Talk with your angel spirits, not from a needy, help me, do it for me, but hey, I'm working on this problem. You probably went through the same thing. What do you recommend? What am I missing? Because see, when we're equals in the sense of we're all learning, then you're not looking down on yourself. You're not doing this. You're saying, I want to learn with you, spirit. And that to me, I think, further opens the door.
And to your point, I say it a little bit differently. Is when you're coming from a place of faith that it's already done, it's already resolved, as opposed to coming from a place of fear and neediness and worry, because then you're going against that whole energy of having that faith as seeing it already done, having that communication. I truly have spent so much time talking about this topic on how to pray, and for me it was a huge aha moment when it happened, when I learned the correct way about a decade ago on how to really communicate, because from my own history in my family, they pray from a place of begging for a solution, as opposed to having that faith. And I just enjoyed all of your explanations from a different perspective. I am so thankful that you came here today. If someone wants to get a hold of you, please let them know how to get a hold of you and talk about what you have available for our viewers.
Well, my website is freesoul.net. No spaces, the two words free and soul, and net for network. That shows them a lot of our materials. My book, You Are Psychic, and the Spanish version, Tu Eres Psíquico, are available through Amazon or in print. Our website tells people how to do it. But the main thing, it's all available through freesoul.net.
I really appreciate it. I will go ahead and put all of your information in all of the website platforms so they know how to get a hold of you as well. And once again, I thank you for your time. Thank you for the beautiful view. Let's tell people where you are. You're in Sedona?
I'm in Sedona, and we have some hummingbird feeders behind me, which I've heard hummingbirds represent eternity, and I want to let everybody know that Sedona welcomes them, and we think of them all as kindred spirits of the heart and soul for eternity.
I love it. And actually, I'm going to put some packages together for some of my clients, and I will be calling you to set it up so we can have some of that magical experiences that you offer in Sedona. Thank you so much again.
Till next time.
Till next time. Gracias, señor Sanders. Qué honor fue haberlo entrevistado. Si usted lo quiere contactar, estamos mostrando su información. Ya soy una creyente del mundo espiritual. Ojalá les haya gustado esta entrevista. Como él, me uno a la misión de prevenir el abuso de psíquicos sin escrúpulos que abusan de la gente durante momentos vulnerables. Y hablando de vulnerabilidad, las comunidades de todo el mundo se están preparando con un concepto que se creó en 1970. Estamos hablando de la comunidad Earthship. Una casa Earthship es un tipo de casa solar pasiva que está hecha de materiales naturales y reciclados como neumáticos llenos de tierra, iniciados por el arquitecto Michael Reynolds. El video que están viendo aquí es de una comunidad en Taos, Nuevo México. Antes de despedirme, las compras navideñas ya están a la vuelta de la esquina. Y en el episodio del próximo mes tenemos consejos emocionales para mantenernos calmados durante la temporada navideña. E incluso tengo ideas de regalos significativos. No se puede perder mi entrevista sobre Cuéntales, un regalo multilingüe que seguirá dando para las generaciones futuras. Y así, señoras y señores, llegamos al fin de este episodio. Gracias por sintonizar. Espero que tengan un buen comienzo de noviembre 2021. Para nuestros espectadores en los Estados Unidos, que tengan una acción de gracias llena de mucho amor, amabilidad y compasión. Hasta la próxima.